Okay, this is Unit 2, Lesson 3, Topographic Maps, Part 1. This is going to be an introduction to topographic maps. So we're going to just talk about what they are, what they look like, what's on them today. So our learning target is I can define topographic map, contour line, and elevation. Success criteria is the same, and then in addition to the definitions, I just want you to be able to describe how the contour lines represent elevation on a contour map. Contour map is also a topographic map. We can use those words interchangeably. First thing we want to think about is just what is a topographic map. So here is the topographic map of the area. It shows the surface features or topography of the earth, including elevation. Most topographic maps show natural features such as streams, rivers, mountains, and hills, as well as man-made items like buildings and roads. So you can see here on this map, we have some labeled roads here: St. Mark's Place, Daniel Terrace, St. George. So we have neighborhoods that are labeled, and then some buildings. So these little symbols here are schools. So here is McKee and here is Curtis. And topographic maps use contour lines to show elevation. So these contour lines are really going to be the thing you need to understand the best about contour maps. And as we go through these lessons, we'll get more into detail into how to draw them, how to figure out if there's a bunch of them, what that means, so on and so forth. Before we get into that, let's just talk about what elevation is. So elevation is a height above sea level. The elevation at sea level is 0. So sea level is our starting point. It's just good to have a starting point to know where you are. We measure elevation in either feet or in meters, depending on the map. You will be given feet or meters if you're given a map. And just something interesting and related to us, the elevation of Tote Hill is 401 feet. It is the highest natural point in the 5 boroughs of New York City and the highest elevation on the entire Atlantic coastal plain from Florida to Cape Cod. So let's look at some of the parts of a map. We're going to start with contour lines. I said those were going to be the most important thing. These represent different elevations on a topographic map. Each contour line connects values that are of equal elevation. Contour lines are a type of isoline. So the next lesson we'll talk about isolines. Equal elevation just means that if you're on a contour line, okay, like this one, all of these are contour lines, all of these brown lines, and you are at a specific elevation. So anywhere on this particular line is going to have the same elevation. Anywhere on this line that's labeled 400 is going to have an elevation of 400, and so on and so forth. So we also have these things called index contour lines, which are heavy lines spaced at predetermined labeled elevations on a topographic map. So they're labeled as these are the numbers that are going to be on there. They're a little darker. It just makes it easier to read. So if we look at this map zoomed in a little bit, here we have 200, 100, 150. So these have just been taken and kind of darkened. It's honestly just for ease of reading. If you didn't have numbers labeled, it would be very difficult to determine elevations at different places on the maps. And the last thing we're going to talk about on the parts of the map today is the scale, which lets you measure distances on a paper map and determine how far apart they are outside or in reality. So this map has a scale of 1 to 24,000. That means 1 unit on the map is equal to 24,000 units outside. So for example, 1 inch on the map is 24,000 inches. This is going to be more useful to us. This scale at the bottom here where it says this is a kilometer, this is 2 kilometers, this is 0 meters, 1,000 meters. You can use a ruler to measure distances on the map and then compare it to the scale here, or you can do a conversion to get distances. So this is just a very basic introduction. Again, our learning target is I can define a topographic map, contour line, and elevation. So we want to know these terms, as well as talking about how these contour lines represent elevations on contour or topographic maps.